This is how you can root propagate a Monstera if it doesn't yet have the aerial roots. You'll just have to take it out of the pot, and you want to just start teasing the soil away. You do not want to be really rough with it, so I'm just going to gently start breaking it apart, getting the outside layers, teasing it so that the roots become a little loose, and then after that I'm going to start to break it apart. These really big roots right here are the ones you really want to try especially hard not to break. So now I'm just going to rip it apart gently. And it's really up to you how big you want to make each propagation. I'm just going to show you kind of what I did so you have an idea. If you wanted a more full plant, you could put everything that I'm holding right now into one pot and it will look nice and full, but I'm going for more plants, not the big plants, so I'm going to break it down even more. So I got about 10 propagations out of this. This little leaf was snapped, so I just threw it off. Now I'm going to propagate this snake plant. Snake plants are a lot more resilient than Monstera plants. You don't have to be as gentle when you're breaking them apart. In fact, each section is kind of already separated. You can just break it just like this. You still want to try to keep as many roots on each section as possible, but you don't have to be as gentle as with the Monsteras. You can actually leave snake plants out of the soil for weeks and they'll be fine. I've even left some out here in Arizona in the sun and they've been fine months later. So these are all the propagations I got from this plant. Now I'm just gonna mix up the soil a little bit. And repotting these plants, I'm not doing anything fancy here. They're not really picky with the soil type. I just make sure it's compacted enough for it to support the plant, but not compacted enough that the water won't penetrate when I'm watering. Honestly, this is very therapeutic for me, so definitely propagate your plants if you need something to do or you need to release some stress. So I'm not going to show myself repotting the Monstera plants, but it's basically going to be the same process, and I am going to use the same soil. Monstera plants are tropical and they are a little bit more finicky than snake plants, but they're still not really picky on the soil. This is kind of a chunky mix and it has a combination of different types of soil mixes in here, so it's going to be fine for the snakes and the Monsteras. And they're going to be kept indoors. This last one is just the smallest one I had. I just wanted to show that. So I actually had 4 plants to start, and I think at the end of this I had about 27 different plants that I propagated from those 2 snake plants and then 2 Monstera plants. Cool thing about propagating Monstera plants is that there's so many other plants that are propagated the same way. So if you have like a pothos plant or a philodendron, most of those plants are propagated the same way as a Monstera. You can either propagate by root or you can propagate by aerial root.
Speaking of propagation,
a person, like a plant, holds the secret to endless renewal. Within us lies the quiet, steadfast power to propagate, to sever from the old and begin again. Never as someone wholly different, but as someone transformed, rooted in all that has come before. When a plant is propagated, a cutting is taken, not a whole, just a piece. That fragment, fragile as it may seem, carries the full story of its origin. It remembers the soil that nurtured it, the rain that quenched it, the sunlight that stretched it skyward. So too do we carry our own histories when we choose to start over. The past does not abandon us. It lives within us, a quiet pulse in every step we take forward. The act of beginning anew is not a denial of who we are. It's a declaration that we can be more. Our past is not a weight, but a root system, unseen yet vital, providing the strength to grow tall even when the terrain shifts beneath us. Every moment we have lived, the triumphs, the failures, the love, the loss, becomes nutrient-rich soil from which we can rise again. Consider the cutting placed into fresh soil. At first it appears bare, disconnected, unsure of itself. Yet beneath the surface, unseen and unstoppable, roots begin to form. The cutting remembers how to grow because growth is its nature. And so it is with us. Even when we feel adrift, When we seem to have left everything behind, our inner roots are reaching out, finding strength in the unseen, preparing to anchor us to a new beginning. Starting over does not mean discarding who we were. It means honoring that version of ourselves by carrying it forward into a new form. The lessons learned, the scars earned, the joys cherished, all of it remains. Like a plant that blooms again in a different season, we do not lose the essence of who we are. We simply reshape it, letting it grow in a new direction. Life will ask us to propagate ourselves again and again. It will demand that we let go of what is familiar, trusting that we can thrive in unfamiliar soil. And though it may seem daunting, we are never truly starting from nothing. Every new beginning is enriched by the experiences that came before it. Every new root is fed by the nutrients of the past. A propagated plant does not mourn what is left behind. It thrives because it knows that it is both part of the origin and something entirely new. So when life calls you to begin again, remember, you are not breaking away from your story. You are extending it, carrying the wisdom and strength of every chapter forward. Trust that you, like the plant, are made for this. You can grow in the unlikeliest places. You can bloom even after being uprooted. You can start over without losing what makes you whole. The past is not lost. It lives in your roots, unseen but essential, feeding the new life you are destined to create.